Rosa. 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 Rosa.
Rosa.
Huh?
Rosa.
Granny?
Rosa. Rosa.
Granny! Hold on. I'm coming. What's wrong?
Oh, my heart. My medicine. I need my medicine.
Okay, I'll get it. God, where is it? Come on. Is this it? Yeah, it is. I got it, Granny.
Oh, thank you, my girl. I'm so sorry to wake you up like that.
Oh, it's okay now.
Oh, my girl. I just got so scared. I shouldn't have woke you. I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's okay now. Tomorrow we'll go to the clinic and get you checked out, okay?
Okay.
It takes us 5 minutes just to get from the house to the truck. I've never seen her this fragile. I'm scared to push her too fast. It's like moving a house of cards. I called ahead and our community health representative, Teresa, is waiting for us with a wheelchair outside the health center. Seeing how slowly my granny moved into the chair didn't make me feel any better about her health.
It's not good. We believe you may have had a heart attack last night, Seraphine. I'm sorry. With your lungs in such bad shape and your hemoglobin so low, we're going to have to keep you here for observation, and we're going to have to do some tests right away. It's not likely you're going to be going home this time, Seraphine.
Watching her getting wheeled away to her room, my heart fell away. A heart attack. She looked so small. As the doctor spoke, I listened. I sat there gently nodding, putting on my bravest face, fighting the urge to cry. He was being polite and taking his time, but the message was clear. My dear granny was going to die. And for some strange reasons, I started to think about how many times he's had to tell this to families and patients, softly delivering them their worst nightmares coming true. I didn't know why I thought of that, but I did. I stood outside the room watching Julie, one of the nurses, ease my granny into her bed with the warmth of her touch. I stood there and thought of all the times Granny hugged me when I was sad and tucked me in when I was tired, how she sang to me when I was scared. I thought of it all, and all I could do was cry. Rosa, your grandma wants to see you. I wiped my tears away and smiled. Hi, Granny.
Oh, my girl, you've been crying. Come here.
Oh, Granny, I'm sorry.
Shh. Oh, you don't have to be sorry. I've lived a long life, Rosa, and because of you, my last years have been so happy. You've done so much to help me. Oh, Rosa, others would have left their elders, gone out and partied. You stayed behind here in Smith and took care of me. I know it wasn't easy for you, what you've sacrificed.
No, Granny, it was a joy to be with you every day.
It takes so much to do what you've done. You have the gifts, my girl.
Gifts?
Yes, gifts. Patience, compassion, strength. Our family has many healers. Your grandfather, he was a medicine man. Your great aunt was a midwife. And your cousin Malcolm is in training to become a counselor at the Friendship Center. There's a reason there are so many healers in our family. Our history of medicine goes back hundreds of years. Have I ever told you about the story of the great sickness that hunted the people and how one of our ancestors stopped it?
No.
Oh, it was many winters ago. Our people were suffering. There was a terrible sickness spreading across the land. Influenza and TB hit us both at once. It was a sad time. Many of our dogs had drowned in a huge flood. The symptoms of this sickness were different for every person. They say you couldn't even bury the dead. You just had to keep moving. Some fell into a deep despair and couldn't leave their camps. They didn't live long. All the people turned to our great-great-grandfather, he, the medicine man, to heal them. But he was too weak with the illness. Tsi hadn't the strength to leave the village and gather the medicines that he needed to cure the people. It was up to his youngest daughter, Uri, who wasn't affected by the sickness, to leave and gather the medicine. Uri was unsure of herself, but knew that she was the only one in the village who was strong and healthy enough to handle the task. Her father told her it was going to be a difficult and dangerous journey. She would have to travel far to find the medicines that would save her people, and that she had to do it alone. The medicines were protected by 3 powerful spirits who would only give them to those who they felt were worthy, and she would have to prove herself to them. Tsihi told everyone that Ori was going to go find the medicines, but she was afraid. She had never traveled very far by herself, and it scared her, and she was terrified to fail. An old woman, one of our matriarchs, spoke. She talked of how she understood fear, how hard it must be to face it alone. But the elder reminded Uri that she wasn't alone, that she would take a little of everyone with her, and when things were at their darkest, the community would be there to give her strength. Everyone brought something. They gave her the tools she would need for her journeys. They gave their best dry meat, along with their rat root and spruce pitch, and with all that, they made her a beautiful robe for her to wear on her journey. With all her things gathered, she began the long journey to find the medicines. Nothing was harder for her than those first steps out of her village. As she got further away from home, the reality of her journey started to settle in. She knew the direction she had to go, but she didn't know how to find the spirits. She just had to keep traveling north towards the Mackenzie Mountains. The next day, she noticed another set of tracks ahead of her. The tracks told her that the person who made them was confused and suffering. The tracks led into the woods. She thought about following them, but remembering that she needed to find the first medicine, she reluctantly moved on. But the person who made those tracks came out of the woods and called for help. Running towards the calls, she saw that it was an old woman. The elder was old and weak and needed help. As Ori was approaching, she got a closer look at the one who called her. The woman was diseased and dying. It was hard not to be disgusted with the old woman's appearance, but she tried her best not to show it. The old woman asked Ori for help. She told her that her village was ravaged by the same sickness and that she was the only survivor. And even though the old woman was hard to look at, with all the disease covering her face, Ori saw the human being underneath it all who needed help. She made her elder a fire using flints. Ori offered the old woman the robe that her people had given her. She also shared her food. The old woman was so happy. She thanked her for her kindness and treating her with such dignity.
Many people have left me to die. You have a strong and generous spirit.
The old woman asked where Ori was going. Ori told her that she was on a journey to find medicines to heal her people.
Your heart is kind and selfless. You truly are worthy. What are you talking about? Oh!
The old woman transformed into a beautiful spirit of light.
You feed me even though you have very little. You gave me your robe even though you were cold. Your kind heart has earned you this medicine. But I want you to remember, don't give your food and medicine away lightly, like you just have with me. You are no good to anyone if you are weak and tired yourself. That is the first lesson of being a healer.
It was true. Out of her generosity, Ori had given away a lot of her food and medicine. Ori had found the first medicine and a lesson she would never forget.
Stay focused on your path. A healer overcomes her own fears before she can help others.
The spirit told Ori of the next challenge she would have to face, that she would have to look into the face of death and show no fear. The spirit helper told Ori she was going to take her to the swamps where the next medicine was. Ori put the first medicine in her bag, and the spirit carried her away. And before she knew it, she was in a dark swamps where the spirit who guarded the second medicine lived. The swamps out there were a dark and dangerous place. Oh, they smelled like rotting flesh. The spirit reminded her, though, that when things seemed at their worst, to remember why she was on her journey and to show no fear. Ori promised that she would never forget this and thanked the spirit for guiding her in a good way. And so she trudged through the mucky swamps, trying not to let the stench and the fear get to her. She walked for hours, not knowing where she was supposed to go. All around her, unfamiliar sounds chilled her soul. Hungry and tired, she could not take another step. The cold and misery of fatigue and hunger was only made worse by the thought that she would let her people down. All she wanted to do was go home. She began to cry. When a single tear slid off her cheek and into the swamp, and without any warning, the monster of the swamp was awoken. It was the most terrifying thing she had ever seen, but she knew that if she showed any fear, it would kill her. She thought of her family and her people dying simply because she flinched. So she held. Just inches away from her face, Ori realized that the reason why the swamp smelled so foul was because of the monster's breath. Still, she held. The monster grabbed her. Still, she didn't scream. The monster started to tighten and squeeze, but Ori would not give. This was making the monster angrier and angrier. It tried everything it could do to make her scream, but the more it tried, the more she realized it couldn't hurt her. It slowly dawned within the monster. It wasn't going to scare her, and she wasn't going to give up. She had no fear. So the demon spoke to her. "Oh, you are a brave little one. Even the strongest warriors have screamed in terror when they see me. But you stood strong, even in the face of death. You are worthy of good medicine. I will take you to the edge of the swamp. There you will go into a cave, and you will sit. This will test your strength and your patience and your faith. You will wait until the spirit sees you are ready." And so the monster kept his word and took her to the edge of the swamp and showed her which way to go. He warned her that in the cave she would be told lies, things to distract her from her task, and to not listen. He reminded her to trust her heart and to think for herself. She thanked him and went on her way. It didn't take her long to find the cave. She walked in without fear, knowing that the last spirit would only visit her when it felt that she was ready. So she began. Finding a comfortable spot, she sat and made a fire. She had no food left, but she had some rat root. She chewed it and prayed. Knowing she was so close made all of her problems seem so small compared to what her family and people were facing back home. So she waited and prayed and sang and gave thanks for her life, yet nothing happened. Then after a day and a half, she heard something. Oh, it sounded like thousands of people screaming far into the wind, and her blood drew cold. Wherever it was getting closer. She could see a light, yet feel a darkness coming her way. She knew that this was the final spirit coming to test her, so she sat ready for whatever it was. For hours, the spirit circled her, watching her. But she gave it no power. For an entire day, the spirit taunted her, telling her all kinds of horrible things. That her people had all died because she had failed. It impersonated her father, saying she had let her people down. It even went so far as to impersonate her. She watched herself speak the names of the dead over and over. It was torture. 3 days had gone by without food, water, or sleep. But she knew she could not give up now. That spirit was a liar. She had faith she could finish this test and return home to touch the faces of her loved ones. On the 4th day, the spirit was gone, and a beautiful wolf entered the cave. Ori didn't know if this wolf was another one of the spirit's tricks, so she sat quietly, ignoring him. Then he told her 2 things. Trust your heart. You are worthy.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mosicho.
He told her from this day on she would be a powerful healer. Her compassion, bravery, and focus would aid her people and ensure their survival. And so the wolf carried Ori's tired body. She slept all the way home on his back. When she woke up, she was home. Most of her people couldn't recognize her. She'd changed so much since he'd left. She was stronger, more confident. She mixed the 3 medicines and healed her father, and then the village. And that's how our people survived, because one girl found the courage to leave home so she could come back and heal it. So now you know, my girl, you know what gifts you carry with you and how powerful they are, and how much it has meant to me to watch you grow into the beautiful woman you are today.
Over the next 2 weeks, we sat and talked. She had a vision of my grandfather. He was waiting for her on the barren lands. He was young and beautiful, she said. She did have an amazing life. Granny passed away peacefully in her sleep. For some reason, at the funeral, I wasn't sad. She taught me so much, especially in the very last years together. I came by to see my grandparents before my plane took off. I dropped tobacco and prayed for her and all of my relations. She thanked me for helping her in her final years, but I have to thank her for helping me find my path. Nursing school will be tough, but I know I will be okay, because sometimes you have to leave your home so you can return to help heal it.